Betty, bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Everyone!
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Let me explain something to you. I am not Mr. Lebowski. You're Mr. Lebowski. I'm the dude.
No one is to stone anyone until I blow this whistle.
You can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Hubba hubba.
Hello and welcome to Zedos Gang, episode number Marvel Special. That's what we'll call it, the Marvel MCU Phase 4 Special. Because come on, let's be honest. I don't know what the fucking time it is now, let alone what episode we're on.
He has disappeared to me. Can you guys hear him?
Sash, the sound's gone.
And there we go. I pressed the mute button, and there you go. What an interesting. Shall we take it again? Let's take it again. Let's
take it again. Zedos Gang Marvel Special. Yeah.
Are we just going with it, or?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay, fuck it. Yeah, me and my mute button, fucking idiot. Anyway, yeah.
Your excitement. Hit buttons.
Without further ado, Kenan Akbulut is here to join us from Creative Control as per usual. Salmon and Neil, hey, you guys are part of the show. Fuck it, you guys are just like Joe, to be quite honest. At this point, like this year has just been. I like to celebrate consistency, and we've been consistently awesome. So you know,
yeah. Hopefully.
But yeah, Marvel Studios, Disney, they had their big investor conference and they announced a lot of Disney films, like a lot of freaking Disney films.
There's a lot of content. I think it started about 9:30 yesterday. I think I was on my phone till about 1:30 in the morning.
You guys were watching it live then, huh?
I watched it live. I watched a live stream.
So when did it come on? Like on 1:30 in the afternoon?
It was about 9:30 last night. It was about 9:30 last night where it started.
Yeah.
So it was about 4 hours, I think, in total.
Wow.
4 in the afternoon it started in America.
Yeah. So it was it's kind of crazy. So obviously the link we were getting were not the press one or the investors, because there's a lot of content we didn't get to see.
Oh no!
Investors and press only. So you just had these little like screens come up with like quizzes and stuff like that, saying, you know, and it's just like, oh, I was like, come on, there's so much I could be watching.
Yeah.
So there were blackouts in the middle of this.
Yeah. They took an intermission. They took several intermissions and stuff like that. So they paced it really well, to be fair. So.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, like, there was a lot to cover. They did the Star Wars stuff, they did Pixar stuff, they did plans for Disney Plus and the future, loads of stuff. But that's all stuff that we're going to cover during the next couple of podcasts. Mm-hmm. So yeah, on Sunday we'll have a Star Wars only stuff. But for this specific podcast, we are covering the Marvel Studios segment. So all the upcoming MCU films. So all MCU fans, which we are. Let's go away. So first off, not a movie. We're going to talk about the Disney Plus shows as well, because they're an extension of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We saw the first trailer for WandaVision. So they've been talking up this show. It's kind of like a I Love Lucy kind of sitcom-y kind of thing with a sci-fi twist. Looks really random and wacky. Really does fulfill the legacy of I Love Lucy. And what were your thoughts of the?
Yeah, it was a good new trailer. Yeah, it was a good new trailer. I really enjoyed it. I think you realize by watching that trailer actually how small the cast is going to be. You know, there seems to be just like, you know, Vision and Wanda, maybe the other two as a couple, which kind of helps her ground her, you know, reality. But we kind of nailed this like from the beginning when they were talking about it. We said it's going to be very much her state of mind, following the events of Endgame, you know, where she lost Vision, you know, she's lost her brother, you know, she's kind of lost her way a bit, and she's just created this reality for herself. And now what will be interesting is whether she's done that herself or whether someone is doing that to her. This show showed a little bit more about, I think, the Mind Stone and stuff like that.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the questions are, obviously, even though Cap went back with Vision's stone, you know, Vision didn't come back. So what's happened to that stone? Where has that gone? Because everything else, he you know, when they retook the stones back, they put everything back to where they were. So you would think that would Vision reappear? No, because that character's been killed. So that kind of an open end. So that I think is going to be a big part of the series, you know. And I think we kind of got a little glimpse of that. But yeah, I think it looks like a lot of fun. It looks something very different, and it's really refreshing for the for the franchise. And I think I don't think it's many episodes, like 6 or 8 episodes. I don't think it's many.
Yeah.
That's right. So, but whether they're probably going to be around the 40-minute mark, I would have thought. So. But yeah, just at the moment we're just like, give us Marvel content. It's been a year. We haven't had anything Marvel for a year. Come on. So, but no, I think it's gonna be a really great show, and I think it will set up some stuff which goes into Doctor Strange and all that, because we know that Wanda is going to be part of that. So I think it will lead into that Doctor Strange multiverse kind of thing, and her powers potentially going to open that up.
It's an interesting thing. I think the reason I feel that it feels like this, the cast of Scarlet is so small is because we've always seen her in the Avengers movies, where there's abundant amount of characters and superheroes. So it does feel like as if they've been, left alone somehow. But I do like the 50s look. I do like the colors and all that. And I'm just looking forward to it. I can't really say much because I don't want to. I've seen the trailer and I've seen the teasers. I want to forget them. I just like to be surprised when I fully see them for the first time.
I wouldn't want to see anything else now. And I think it's going to go like 50s, 60s, 70s. I think it's going to progress. Because it goes and the styles. So I think you'll see that progress across each episode. It'll probably jump a few years within the TV world.
Yeah. Oh, just to confirm, it is just the 6 episodes.
6 episodes, yeah. I thought
yep.
So.
These 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s.
Yeah. Well, you see, the funny thing is, for me at least, I remember seeing like still images from the show. This is before, obviously before yesterday, and that trailer dropped, and I just remember looking at it, and I remember seeing, I don't want to say everything, but I remember seeing, when I saw the still images of basically the clothing and stuff that they were wearing, and I kind of automatically gleaned what shows they were. So I feel like it's clear that the show is heavily influenced by whatever's going on in Wanda's psyche. And what I believe it is that Wanda is basically essentially Wanda's stuck at home and she's binge watching TV shows. And as so as she's binging all of these TV shows, that's what's lining her mind up. So it's like the kind of black and white 50s look, that's clearly like I Love Lucy or The Honeymooners. And then I watched it go through those eras. So it was like, I think that's like 50s, 60s, and then 70s. I can't remember what it was, but it was like they had like Married with Children, they had Friends, they had the Brady, that was it. So I think the 60s or the 70s was the Brady Bunch. The 80s was like Married with Children. The 90s was Friends. And it's like just working its way closer and closer up until present day. And I just think like, oh wow, that was cool. And the fact that it's a really small cast, I mean, we could be wrong and they might have a massive cast, but I feel like that's intentional because it's sort of like, if this whole thing is about her psyche, then you need it to have as minimal a cast as possible because we need to spend as much time with her or in her head as we can.
Yeah.
But I was like, I loved the trailer. I love that this final trailer. I do hope it is the final trailer. Like, I don't want any right. But
yeah, it's launching in January, so it's only a few weeks. January. A month away.
Yeah.
But it's one of the few times, it's almost like Endgame where it's like, I'm like, I don't want to know anything more than I know.
Yeah,
like what you've given me is enough, and my geek brain is already speculating everything that I saw. And I was just like, oh wait, there's like this black woman with an afro, and I was like, oh, is that Misty Knight? I was like, no, that's not Misty Knight. Misty Knight's something else. And I was like, oh, is that Monica Rambeau? And I was like, maybe. Nope, maybe not. And I was like, like, well, if you were a kid in the 90s, how old would you be in 2020? And I was trying to not like let my brain rattle around, but it's too much. It's too much. But no, I think it's going to be. It's weird because obviously Black Widow was essentially going to be the beginning of Phase 4. But I'm kind of glad in a weird way that it's going to be WandaVision. The quarantine did one thing right.
Yeah, no, I see what you're getting with that, because as far as we're aware, Black Widow is not going to tie into the MCU at all. It's just a standalone movie. So, we're seeing the story progress from Endgame first rather than just having something in between. So, yeah.
I think that what it will probably be is, and this is just my complete speculation, like as in over the last like 30 seconds, is I think we're going to have kind of like two avenues of Phase 4, and it's going to be sort of like one avenue is anything multiverse related. So anything, and I think the multiverse is probably going to be the big thing of all of all of Phase 4 is going to be just that. It's going to be multiverse related. So whatever the big bad is that forces an Avengers team up is going to be multiverse related. But I think that's one avenue, and the other avenue is all the ground stuff, which kind of ties into other things. And I think like whatever happens in Black Widow is going to either reflect or directly have causality to Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I've got a theory about Black Widow, so I'll come on to it a little bit later, but I have a theory about how Black Widow might finish. So I'll come to that later.
Okay. We're talking about it now as part of this thing, isn't it? I mean,
yes and no. I'll let you know when the link is.
Oh, okay.
I'll let you know where the link is.
Okay, so next up we have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. They don't really show much of this one or that one, other than it's coming. Sam Raimi's directing it. But, they just more or less said business as usual, basically. I think they're filming it right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, they confirmed that Olsen is filming now, so she's filming her stuff for it. So, they did mention all that before. So there isn't really anything new on Doctor Strange. They just confirmed the cast are all coming back. It's filming. Yes, there's not really much else to say with that. The only thing that they kind of touched on in that was they said because it will be dealing with the multiverse, and they confirmed that Spider-Man 3 will deal with the multiverse in some way. So there will be some connectivity, I think, between those two. So we kind of were on that path anyway, but it was kind of a confirmation of that.
Yeah, I think the threads of WandaVision play heavily into Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange, the fallout of Doctor Strange seeps into whatever story Spider-Man's trying to tell, and kind of spews off into whatever shit Sony want to do, according to the rumors. They are rumors. I'm not going to go too deep into it because we covered a lot of those rumors last podcast.
But, I wasn't on the last podcast, but there's 2 points that it kind of leads into the multiverse in a way, whether they do it this way, because obviously Doc Ock's been rumored. When he died, he ended up in that sun charging thing explosion, and you saw his body go down.
Yeah, but we didn't see him die. Yeah,
you didn't see him die. So, but whether he's been, he wasn't sucked into the black hole at all, but whether something happened there, Electro kind of exploded in all that energy. So whether that sent him into a parallel universe and stuff like that. So those characters they're using, there is explanations for him to appear other places. So yeah, that's the only thing.
Sorry. Or it could be, well, Jamie Foxx kind of hinted in his tweet that he was playing an alternative version of him because he said he won't be blue anymore.
Yeah, but sending him into another dimension might change him up, so.
Or it could be the MCU's version of Electro.
Yeah,
but
I mean, if they're going to go through the multiverse, we said we're not going to go into it. If they're going to go through the multiverse way, I'd rather him be that version than recast the same person and that role. So if there's no links to that at all, it doesn't make sense to me. You'd give another actor an opportunity. As much as Jamie Foxx is kind of cool, that's just, again, that's a personal preference. So
I think for me, one thing that has ever much so been running through my head is, I mean, it's called the multiverse, right? What's going through my head is I feel like what they're doing is they're casting or recasting actors who've played roles, but they will be playing another multiverse version of that character. So maybe like I think
it's like the what if, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like the only people who will be playing the exact role that we believe they will be if they come back will be literally Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. I feel like they're the only two. I feel like if they get Emma Stone and she's Gwen Stacy, well, clearly because obviously she passed away in Amazing Spider-Man. I feel like she's going to be a different version. I feel like even though they've announced them, Alfred Molina will not be playing the same Doc Ock that we saw in Spider-Man 2. I don't believe that Jamie Foxx, I mean, he even said it in his tweet, and he was like, oh, I'm not going to be right? I mean, that is neither here nor there, but I'm like, that is definitely like, I'm like, they're not going to be playing the same versions that we've seen.
And so I think versions will be Earth number whatever.
Well, I have a feeling the problem is all these movies came out so recently. I mean, really recently. I mean, after the MCU had already started, we were still watching the Andrew Garfield version of Spider-Man, so they can't really completely dismiss those characters.
So the best way to think about it is that Spider-Man 2 or Amazing Spider-Man 2 was coming out at roughly the same time as Avengers 1 because they were going to put the Oscorp building in the skyline of Avengers.
There you go. So you have all these characters that people have recognized them and they know what they've played. They may not have been a great film for some of us. Some of us, they completely thought they were dog shit. But anyway, people do recognize them. So that, I mean, with the multiverse, it plays beautifully. You can put them in. You can have your brand new characters, actor as well, playing a brand new character of the same name, and have the old one come in and touch base and go.
Yeah. But I think it's a really, to me, in my head, if they go this route, it's actually a really good thing because what you'll have is you'll have character interactions that will be different. That'll be different because Tobey Maguire's history with Alfred Molina is one linear way that we know it. So if, like, hypothetically speaking now, if, everyone's in the movie and we see it and there's an interaction between Alfred Molina, Doc Ock, and Tobey Maguire, and he's like, maybe he pops up and he's like, oh, Peter, you're here. Like, I missed you. And then he's like, miss me? And it was like, yeah, I missed you. You died. And he's like, I what?
And
you died.
I mean, if you guys, they took the Spider-Man PS4 game relationship with Doc Ock, I think that'd be amazing as well. But it also does explain how J. Jonah Jameson came back as the same character but different. He's got a different look. Yeah. He's the same character. So you can see that's kind of where they're going with it.
Well, let me ask. I know
they'll announce a load more stuff coming up. That's kind of.
I don't know.
Just now, and I like the fact that they're not confirming anything because I'm just like, let the speculation go. It's great marketing.
Beautiful marketing. Actually, I know for a fact that Sacha hates this stuff, but anyway, the DC Arrowverse. Any of you guys else have seen?
Yeah, I've seen it.
You've seen it. So they did the same sort of a thing just last 2 seasons ago when the Arrow's last season was going on. They had previous Supermans come in and Flash come in from the movies and stuff like that. People do love that stuff. So it could work beautifully in this as well.
I think it will because in my personal opinion, like, I feel like right now the biggest thing that's going is nostalgia. It's not, as much as we say, it's not superheroes, it's nostalgia. It's superheroes breed nostalgia because there are people who remember these comics. Oh, I remember when I was a kid and I read this, or like anyone who has Disney Plus, they know like Gargoyles was literally the first highest stakes show on Disney Plus. Right?
You know what? I forgot all about Gargoyles, and someone name dropped it yesterday, and now I've added it to my watch list because you know what? Like that was such a fucking boss show, man.
Like nostalgia draws it in. We've seen everything like Stranger Things or whatever. Anything that's nostalgic brings it in because it takes you back to a simpler time or a time that you felt was a better time because you weren't living in it right now. And this, like anything like multiverse where you can bring old characters back, because as like if people might not like the Arrowverse or whatever, but if you liked old school 90s Flash, John Wesley Shipp, if you like that,
he was in it.
You're lined up to be like, I could watch an episode with him in it. And
I'll tell you what, even though I didn't like any of that Arrowverse shit, one thing was made perfectly abundantly clear in that episode. Brandon Routh still got it.
Yeah.
Brandon Routh still got it. Not only does he still got it, I'm looking at him fight the other guy. I'm like, who the fuck is this cosplay wearing motherfucker? He made the current TV Superman just look like a waste man. And I was like,
he's not a bad Superman, to be fair. He's actually okay. He's in Supergirl. Look, they've got his own show coming out in February. So.
They canceled Supergirl and gave him his own one. Right? But I tell you like this, that for me, I feel like there was an intentional running joke, and I feel like this running joke came solely from the fact that everybody probably looked at every Superman that's ever been live action and was like, yeah, one of these things is not like the other. It was like every other Superman is, I say they're all 6 foot, they're all like six plus. Right, all 6 foot plus.
Yeah, Tom Welling's the tallest fucker. He's almost 6'4" or something like that.
They're all kind of 6 foot-ish plus.
Yeah.
They're all quite musculature, whether they put it on for the role or whether they had it already. And then this dude who plays it in Supergirl, it was like every character looked at him and they looked at whatever universe's Superman they saw, and they was like, bruv, what happened? It's the equivalent.
And Lois kept looking at the other ones going,
It's the equivalent of like the Hemsworth brothers. Like you look at Liam and you look at Chris and you're like, yeah, I can see it. And then you look at the other one, I think his name's Luke, and you're like, bro, you got disrespected, man.
Like the Baldwins.
Yeah.
All right, what's next, Sasha?
Yeah.
Okay, so next up we have, I believe it's Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a big fan in the comics of the new class of heroes. Okay, and they all got cancelled. They all got cancelled because they were waste. All right, I'm just saying it as it was in sales and stuff. But obviously they're trying to push them, and they're trying to reach a big audience with these things. I wasn't looking forward to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. My argument has always been that Steve Rogers was Captain America, and they made one. You know what I mean? They made one. It's not a mantle because he took the super serum. That's the whole point. Saying that, this was a fucking boss fucking trailer. Okay, I was like, that's okay. I may have my reservations, okay, but I'm gonna watch the shit out of this. And not only am I gonna watch the shit out of this, fucking Falcon in his proper uniform, but not gay. Just like, sorry, whoops, like, sorry, didn't mean that in a, I didn't mean that in a this, derogatory term, but like, he looked damn good, man. He looked damn good, and not only damn good, like it just looked really good, and it really delivered for me when that Hollywood kind of blockbuster feel, but on the small screen.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Feige said. It's a movie split into episodes.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the way they've approached it. So you can see the budget. That bit where he's flying through the canyon and stuff, I was like, ooh, nice,
Yeah, so that was just it. And the skeptic in me, the skeptic in me, like, I'm game for this. Yeah, I mean, it just said to me, I'm game for this.
Yeah, and they've got good chemistry on and off the screen.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think that's what's going to make the show, really. That chemistry, the good cop, bad cop thing. And yeah, I dig it. So, yeah.
Can I point out, right? Am I the only person who saw that as like a like a indirect diss at Warner Brothers and the Snyder Cut when he was like, yeah, this ain't a TV show, it's a movie split into 6 episodes.
Yeah.
When he said that, I was like, oh yeah, and I was like, that was my first thought. Oh yeah, that's gonna be good. And then the second thought was like, oh, Kevin, you're getting disrespectful at your old age, bro. You're getting seasoned now. So I was like, yeah, that's cold. But yeah, I like absolutely. I was like, it looks so much richer. It immediately gave me Captain America Winter Soldier vibes, where it felt like, that, like when you look at First Avenger versus Winter Soldier, there's a massive, obviously, tonal shift, but it's the kind of the aura that Winter Soldier has. I feel like the show Falcon Winter Soldier is going to have that same aura.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's, this is essentially like, this is your kind of, maybe there's espionage, maybe there's, like the spy thriller almost type superhero thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like interested. One thing that I have to say though is I have to disagree with you, Sash, where you say about Captain America, like where you weren't a fan of it, because when I read those comics, when it was like, okay, Steve Rogers died, and then here we go with Bucky, because Bucky was the first one.
Yeah.
Well, he's not in comic lore, he's not the first person other than Steve Rogers to be Captain America, but he was the first person to clearly inherit the mantle from Steve Rogers properly.
Yeah.
Like, I think the way that they developed the story of the weight of taking on the role of Captain America, I think the way it happened from going from Steve Rogers to Bucky was really well done. And I also feel like it not as well done, but the role going from Steve Rogers to Sam Wilson was also done well. And I think, unfortunately, because of the current world climate we live in, the idea of Falcon trying to inherit that mantle, it's going to resonate.
Yeah. I think the one thing that the MCU hasn't done very well since the first Avengers is how the world react to them. So, the end of the first Avengers movie, you had all the newscasts, everyone thanking him. Oh my God, you're a hero. You're amazing. All the Avengers of Endgame and, stuff like that, they never really talked about the heroes that much. Endgame, they've gone back and saved the world and everyone's come back. Are they going to cover that? How's the world responding to that? How do they treat them? How do they, is Captain America this idol there that he's, sacrificed himself to, take the stones back? There's so much there that you just think,
But I don't think that's in any of the film.
Yeah, now Spider-Man touched
maybe that one time in Civil War where the woman blames Tony Stark for Sokovia and the son.
Spider-Man touches on Iron Man, and obviously it's like the fact that he's passed, and he's like the big hero. But that was all about Stark. There was nothing there about Cap. Now from that world, it's like Cap is old, he's gone. So it'll be interesting to see how Falcon Winter Soldier touch on that point in terms of moving that forward. Was Cap always there? Was he not there? Is he just old now? So it's like, so it'd be interesting to see what they do with that.
But that's the difference between the MCUs and the DC world, where in DC world they always have a journalist in part of the the cast and say. So they would be the representation
of the people, the hope, and everything with the Superman stuff.
Exactly.
I think what it might tie down to is the reason why there's not really anything kind of touched on about Cap. I think that there's multiple reasons. One is because the MCU has established that Tony Stark was Peter Parker's mentor. So it needs to be from Peter's point of view that everywhere he turns, there's Tony.
Yeah.
And like, as a reminder of sort of like, oh, this is the mantle you need to live up to. But I think also another thing is because it's like official 100% out and out clear, like defined, Iron Man died. during the snap. He died to reverse the snap. He died to end Thanos. Whereas Captain America, who survived it, just kind of went away. And now we have a new Captain America of sorts, whether it's US Agent, whether it's Sam Wilson, whether it's whoever it is. There's a fact. So it's like the mourning process is a bit different because it's like when Iron Man's gone, he's gone. There is.
But that's, I mean, how they're going to explain Captain America. Is it he retired or is he just gone missing? So they're not going to say, "Oh, he's gone back in time and put all these stones back, and then he went into hiding." That's not the public. So is it going to be a case he's missing or he's retired? So it's just interesting how they might touch on that.
Yeah, well, I think they'll probably touch on it that he's retired as of sorts, because if I just remember from one of the very early teaser trailers, there was a whole kind of parade of like in a football stadium. It was like a whole kind of cheerleaders and fire and sorts of US Agent running towards like a podium holding the shield. So I think what they've done is the government or someone is established in the public's eye. Here's your new Captain America. So you don't have that kind of sense of loss, or you don't have as much as a sense of loss, because the iconography, the figure of Captain America still exists.
The mantle.
The mantle still exists in some way. Whereas with Tony Stark, it's like he said, his last line is like, "I am Iron Man." So it's like, well, if I'm Iron Man and I go, hey, there's no Iron Man. Yeah, there's a war machine, but I was Iron Man and I'm the only Iron Man. The next guy who came after me wasn't called Iron Man. He was called War Machine. He was called Iron Patriot. So there's like when Iron Man's gone, he's really gone.
Well, what was I going to say? In terms of public perception, I guess those characters never really had the public eye, viewpoint. You look at Iron Man, he's a rich guy. You know what I mean? You're not going to see the average everyday guy mingle or have a perception of him, because his world doesn't allow that, that to happen, if that makes sense. And very early on, Marvel conscientiously made the decision where we're not having a superhero that's like hiding his identity away from his missus and that kind of thing. At the end of that first movie, he's like, "I am Iron Man" to the press. Deal with it. You know what I mean? So then it's just business as normal. Captain America, he's a military, he's an army guy, he's a military guy. So his universe doesn't really show the public persona as much because it doesn't lend itself to that. Same with Hulk, same with
well, Hulk, he was like a celebrity in the Endgame, because Professor Hulk, he was signing the autographs, having the pictures taken and stuff like that.
But by the time you get to Endgame, the stakes have changed and stuff, and that's just a quick nod. But if you want to really get really deep into what people's perception of these heroes are, it's the heroes like Peter Parker, it's the heroes like Daredevil, like Punisher to a degree, but maybe not so. The ground level heroes, they're the ones that have always dealt with that. With Peter Parker, he's keeping his identity away from his school or college friends. Also, in previous iterations of Spider-Man, he had his work. You had J. Jonah Jameson molding the people. And then if you look at the earlier films, like the Raimi films, even the ones I don't like, the Mark Webb ones, New York was shown, the character of New York was shown through the people's perception of Spider-Man, if that makes sense. And that was a very integral role into what the world's perceptions were of, superheroes and stuff. And Spider-Man, you do get that from his friends and stuff, but I do agree
Spider-Man,
with you
do, because it's all about New York and they look after
Spider-Man. Exactly. But I totally agree with you, Ken. I totally agree with you,
the Avengers as a whole, even though they've saved the world so many times, you don't get it in the movies where they are idolized as much as, say, Iron Man is, even though they are part of this team and stuff like that. So I'm just saying, for me, that's something that's probably a little bit lacking in the MCU, in terms of the recognition of the average person against these superheroes. So when they're lost or they're gone, you feel it more. So you felt it in Spider-Man because everyone was asking Spider-Man about Iron Man. and he can see it everywhere. So it was huge. The rest of the characters, not so much. So it was just interesting in the next phase if that's explored in any way. It's not a big thing, but...
No. But if you really look at it, none of the MCUs actually have a regular Joe that comes in for a particular, one scene, one line, and disappears. It's all just them. You may see public running around them.
But they did in the first
things are. Yeah.
No, what I'm saying,
exactly.
Somewhere Joss Whedon, he brought the public in the same way he did with Justice League. He tried to humanize it.
Yeah.
Although it wasn't executed as well. But in Avengers, he did. And it humanized the characters so they became heroes. Everyone's getting tattoos of them, having their beard shaved like them and stuff like that. Went away.
Sorry. I misunderstood the question. So you mean you want to see that aspect post Endgame?
Yeah. I just want to see how the world's reacted to the fact that obviously, you had Captain America chairing this meeting about loss and all this kind of stuff. And now the whole world has come back again. What do they think of the Avengers? Do they blame them for everything that's happened?
I'm sure that'll be covered.
Are they grateful that half of it came back?
Because in Amazing Spider-Man, they covered a bit, where people didn't know, but they knew who had died and who hadn't died. And people didn't know because
as the snap or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. Because some were young and even though they have grown older, but they look young and that sort of thing. So they covered it a little bit, but the rest of it, like what their actual feelings were towards what actually had happened, or the superheroes themselves, that wasn't covered. I don't think they will actually. I think they will sort of stay away from that.
Yeah, because I've been thinking as we've been discussing this that there's always been a tiny little slither of what a public perception is, but it does differ from Avenger to Avenger, and it does differ depending on how you look at it. I mean, we've been given clear indications of what the government or world governments think of the Avengers, which is not good. Because obviously the Sokovia Accords clearly define that, and it's even introduction of the Accords, it came from seeing the news reports when Thunderbolt Ross was like, oh, well look, here's New York, Avengers. Here's Washington, Winter Soldier. Here's Sokovia, Age of Ultron. Here's, Lagos from the beginning of Civil War. It was like, every time you lot go somewhere, there's massive destruction. And so he was like the viewpoint of the government. And even when we look at it, even though we all looked at it as a joke, I think we're forgetting that when at the end of Avengers 1, when they had all those kind of newscasters, there were two people there who didn't, or there were, I think it was 2 to 3 people who weren't very supportive of the Avengers. One of them was Stan Lee, because he made the joke of it was what superheroes in New York, give me a break. We all laughed at that, but if it wasn't Stan Lee saying that and it was someone else entirely, that is a point of view of the general public. The waitress, she was like, Captain America saved my life, so of course she has a good opinion of him. I think, and we forget that, Spider-Man is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. It's one of his monikers. So it's that, in that essence of like, okay, what do people think of them? I think because a lot of the ground level Marvel heroes are exactly that. They're ground level. So it's like, if you live in Hell's Kitchen, you know about Daredevil. So you have a feeling towards Daredevil. If you live in Harlem, you've got Luke Cage. You feel a way about Luke Cage.
Yeah, exactly. I totally get that, and I think, and that's what I like about it. But like, what do people think of Thor?
Well, that's it. All we know about what people think of Thor is that girls like him. He's
I mean, you had a little bit of that with Thor Ragnarok, didn't you? Where he's like in New York and there's a girl taking pictures or something.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, sorry, Jane dumped you," or whatever, right? It was like, and even in Age of Ultron, where it was the Doctor, and she was like, "Is Thor going to be at the party?" It was like, okay, so the perception is Thor.
And again, because Age of Ultron was a Whedon thing. So what I'm just saying is, I think with the Whedon movies, and I think, you had characters again in Age of Ultron who were human characters and they recognized what was happening. You lost that after Whedon, and I just think that's a little bit missed. But we digress. Sasha, what's the next thing?
Yeah, next thing. I just realized there are 23 titles on this thing, so let's move. Sasha's eating.
Next up, Black Widow. I think we can skip this one because there's been trailers we've been talking about for months.
Yeah, it's just been
No,
delayed.
that we already
The only
talked about
interesting
it
thing
about
is they're releasing
15
it side
minutes
by
ago.
side. So your theatrical release and Disney Plus release.
But the only thing I will mention is that theatrical release is still being kept.
Yeah.
So
You know,
that was an interesting sign there. So yeah,
It'll be Prime. It'll be the Premier Access like they did for Mulan. It's not going to be free on Disney Plus.
We can have a chat about streaming and theatricals what it could release at the end of the podcast because there have been some changes.
We'll discuss that on a whole different podcast. Let's just
we'll do that.
Let's just keep it as just the Marvel stuff.
Okay, cool.
This one.
So there'll be. I believe there's going to be an end credits at the end of Black Widow potentially, but it definitely leads into something else. When we get to that show, I'll mention it.
Okay, so moving on to the next thing. Okay, again, another one that didn't excite me, not because of the same reasons, just like, well, what is it? Yeah, I mean, what is it? Like, okay, it says Loki. Okay, I get he stole the thing, but what? How are we going to make this different? And you know what? That was a good fucking trailer.
Awesome.
Amazing trailer.
That was probably my favorite out of all the trailers, to be honest.
By the way,
loved this trailer.
Owen Wilson looks
he
cool.
looks different.
Looks fucking cool, doesn't he?
And he looked like he's
So
toned
different
down
than
his. He looks like he's toned down his Owen Wilson-ness. You know, it's like
Very much so.
Wait, who was Owen Wilson?
He's the guy in the elevator.
standing him in
What's the elevator?
Get the fuck out of here.
You didn't recognize it? You didn't recognize
It's because he wasn't going,
Dude.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, the big change is that he's got gray hair in this thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so no, that trailer was awesome.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
Oh
that trailer was sick. I thought that was awesome. I think that is going to be the surprise hit of it, of all the stuff that's coming out.
Yeah.
I think that is going to go into different realities and dimensions because that time stone, that the Tesseract is going to allow that. Now there was a really interesting scene, and I posted it on my Twitter. Black Widow. There is a scene in that trailer where I'm convinced it's Black Widow on the planet where the Soul Stone was dropped for her. I'm wondering whether he goes and rescues her or something happens that he brings her back. Or it's just a night if something happens in one of the episodes. But there is a shot there, and I posted on my Twitter of that. So go back and watch that trailer. It's a quick thing, but you'll see it. And it's like, so I'm wondering whether that may tie into the end of Black Widow, whether they'll key that in with Loki, or whether it's just something completely different. And that is just something that happens in the Loki series.
That trailer screamed of Tai Waititi's like Ragnarok version of Thor and Loki. I don't. Is he? Who was doing it, by the way? I've completely forgotten. He was the director behind this thing. Do you know?
Well, it's a TV show, so
I know, but there's going to be somebody who's.
You mean like who's the showrunner?
Essentially.
Well, the showrunner is Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the main guy of all the films and the TV shows. So he's the guy.
Michael Waldron is the one who wrote it. Okay.
So
yeah, I think this is an easy win for Marvel, and everyone.
It looked amazing.
Everyone loves Loki.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if I'm going to say something? This is another one that impressed me. I like the visual style. Loved the visual style.
Yeah.
Love the fact that it's being voiced by all the cast that have played them in the movies and stuff.
It should be said that it's an animation first of all.
Yeah,
People don't know.
Oh yeah, it is an animation. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. What thoughts, guys?
Yeah, evil Doctor Strange, T'Challa as Star-Lord, Peggy Carter as Captain Britain, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks fun. I think it'd be interesting to see how long the episodes are. You had like a zombie Captain America as well. So yeah, I think it's just gonna be fun. And you know, the What If comics do really, really well, and it opens up loads of different potentials and storylines. And you know, depending on the reaction to certain shows, they may say, well, maybe we'll try this in the movies later on. Who knows? But I think it's a lot of fun, and Marvel need to step up their animation game because DC rule them in that sense. So I think this is a good starting point for them to, you know, do something different with it. And I like the fact they've moved away from like normal, like Saturday morning cartoon style. So yeah, I think it's kind of cool.
I actually think that the What Ifs, even though they're What Ifs and they deal with Uatu the Watcher and that, I genuinely believe that certain things we see in What If we will see in Multiverse of Madness.
Let's hope.
I think it's just something about it. I'm just like, that's we're gonna see that again.
Yeah.
The only thing is about the What If is that the graphic style they've taken up is more like the Zeus, the one on Netflix going on right now.
Yeah, Blood of Zeus.
Yeah, they've sort of taken that, and I was hoping to come up with a complete one of their own, but obviously we've only seen 20 seconds of the thing, so
yeah,
we'll try to find out.
Okay, next up we have Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings. Not a lot was shown. Well, did they show a sizzle reel that we didn't see?
I think we just didn't see it. I think they showed something. It probably wasn't a trailer. I'm wondering it's one of those where you get the actor speaking about it and a little bit of clips and stuff like that. Yeah. But they did. I'm sure they showed something on that. I'm sure
it'll pop up online or something a bit.
I would say in the next week or so.
There was something going on, especially because I follow what's his name, Sim Lu. So he's on a show called Kim Convenience, and I follow that. Okay. Brilliant comedy show. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix.
I've heard a lot about it because one of the shopkeepers shows up in Mandalorian, doesn't he?
Well, the pilot, you know who?
The pilot guy.
Yeah. He's Mandalorian. But see, the thing is, he's been in Star Wars before as well, so it's not like he's doing something new.
Oh, really? What's he doing?
Yeah, he was in one of the Star Wars as a fighter. Anyway, so they've taken him and put him in the Mandalorian. Yeah.
That's not what I heard. I heard he's just a big cosplayer.
Oh, okay.
This is what I saw because I saw how he got the gig on the Mandalorian, and what it is, he's a cosplayer. Like before he was even an actor, he's a huge Star Wars fan. He cosplays. He goes to all the conventions and stuff.
See, I saw the picture. I thought the picture
because on his Instagram he's got loads of different like outfits and stuff. And when they call what happened was Dave Filoni is a fan of Kim's Convenience.
Yeah.
And then he looked up his Instagram and saw all of his costumes and stuff, and that's how he got the part. Literally, it was like, oh my god! So he's a big fan. And then Dave Filoni had him act alongside him, but gave him all the lines because obviously Filoni's not an actor for that episode. And then I think it's a reoccurring role as well. Yeah, so when that episode came out, there was a whole making of, and like he was like completely nerding out that he got the part for Star Wars, and
can I just say, right? When we're dealing with like fan orientated stuff, right? People like film companies, TV show companies, right? That's how you cast your middle ground people. Not the star, but your middle ground people, them reoccurring roles. If they're a deep fan.
Awesome. Okay, let me go back to what I was actually talking about. The fact that I follow Kim's Convenience and these guys are in a Sim Lu had posted something yesterday where the whole cast was talking about their production, and it was, I think it was released during the press conference. So if you guys want to look it up, I think it's something there because I didn't really watch it. It was late at night when it popped up.
Yeah, I think Shang-Chi is going to be a bit of a sleeper hit. I think it is one that I actually don't want to see much of because it is a very new identity and it's a very much a character I'm not that familiar with. I probably would like to see a teaser trailer, but that probably I'm not going to want to see a second to last trailer. I just want to go in as fresh as I can to this and just like show me what you got.
I'm treating it in the same light that I treated Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I know of the character. I don't know a hell of a lot about it, so I just want to see it when it comes.
Agreed.
Same thing with the band. The thing is, I watch Kim Convenience so much, I sleep to it, and that guy is there all the time. So I want to see it without seeing any trailers, so I can be sold onto him as being that, not keep envisioning him as the guy from the sitcom.
Yeah, I'm lucky because I've never seen Kim's Convenience. I'm in the privileged position that I'm only when I see him, he will only be the role that I see him in.
Okay, if you don't want to watch it now, but I will tell you, watch that show. It is hilarious. I mean, brilliantly done.
Cool. All right. So next up, we have Ms. Marvel. Now, you know what? I'm actually looking forward to this. I'm actually looking forward to this.
Mm-hmm.
I knew nothing about Ms. Marvel until I played the Avengers game.
Yeah.
And that Avengers game was more or less, I'd say, a majority of people's first foray into it. And yeah, she's got an Elastigirl kind of like thing to her. So there's a lot of like mutants that have similar powers than other people, like Morph, Mystique. This goes on. But like, no, I get it. I like the character. Again, Miss Marvel, like Captain Marvel, is a mantle. So I could buy into that. You know what I mean? I could totally buy into that. I like the fact they did it the typical Disney way, like how they did Moana. They cast an unknown Asian actress, and
they did it all via online auditions, didn't they? Via
online
stuff,
and you can tell she was generally like couldn't comprehend that she's now in the shit that she grew up with. I think that's beautiful and like
it's an animation, right?
Yeah, no, live action. It's a mini series. It's a mini series. And it's going to lead into Captain Marvel 2, which we'll get in just a sec.
Yeah, because Captain Marvel's like her idol, and therefore, now she's going to appear alongside Brie Larson. They said like co-starring. It's going to be so co-starring in Captain Marvel 2. So and I think. Yeah, I like the character. Look, it speaks out to a lot of people. It's the first like Pakistani superhero in like Marvel, female hero, and I think it can do great. And it's had a little bit of a CW vibe in terms of the TV show, but I think that's because of the age of the actress.
Yeah.
But everything in Marvel has is just it's got a certain level, hasn't it? So. And it's the not proof, but it just reinforces how important these shows are to the movies and how they can bring characters in to these blockbusters by establishing them in other places, and they don't have to have their own movies to start off with because they might not be as strong a characters or whatever it is. And so I think it's a great opportunity to, she can hit the ground running into that movie. So credit. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've not seen the trailer, so I'm going to look it up. So
it wasn't such a trailer as they kind of did interviews and a few little clips.
Right. Because what I've seen is to what they have on IMDb, and that's an animation. That's why I thought it was an animation.
I think the animation
footage and stuff.
Yeah, I think that could be stuff from the game. I mean, in the game, I felt they did a really good. I think they did a really good way of like establishing her character in the game. I've played probably the first half of the game because I played it during the weekend that it was released, and I did a few streams of it on Twitch. I did a few Twitch streams of it just to give it a go. I wasn't a big fan of the game, but I gave it a weekend's worth of play. It was all right for what it is. But
I finished it, and I have to say that prior to the game, other than knowing that Ms. Marvel existed in her current form, as in Kamala Khan, I was just like, okay, you exist, but like, I grew up with Carol Danvers as Ms. Marvel, so I'm like, I can do with or without you, but having played the game from start to finish, I'm now like, no, you're integral. Integral to the team because it's sort of like, the best way I can describe it is almost like a Spider-Man-esque hero worship type character. Like the way that they've done Ms. Marvel through the game and probably through the show and possibly through the comic. I must like confess, I never read this iteration of Ms. Marvel's comics. That she's a fan of the Avengers, so this is finally someone who's grown up idolizing the Avengers and now becomes a part of them. So it's sort of like when we were talking about the other guy who's like a cosplayer who's now in Star Wars. Is like, this is what happens when you are so passionate about something and wind up in that world.
Yeah, so I think it'd be nice because we haven't seen that before, so I think it's great.
Okay, which leads us into Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel 2. Not much was said other than what we've just said in regards to Ms. Marvel joining her. And also, I think the biggest thing is now set in the current day, I guess.
Yeah.
Or 5 years in the future, depending which way you look at this, because obviously,
Yeah.
but yeah, that, to be honest, that was a bit of a surprise for me, because I kind of looked forward for Captain Marvel being its own thing, because I liked the 90s aesthetic of the first movie. And I just kind of felt her I thought her going away, like space patrolling, you know what I mean? Because I think a part of me wanted to see that aspect of the MCU, if that makes sense, because they opened that world up. But, you know, I guess they want to move the MCU storyline forward. And I guess also they wanted to have the show piggyback off it as well. So it makes sense. And yeah, hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the way they're tying it all in, because you got Monica Rambeau, is that?
Yeah, Monica Rambeau, who I might add was my Captain Marvel, but anyway.
Exactly. So she's appearing in WandaVision. So that's where we're going to be first introduced to her. Then she's going to appear
as an adult or as a child?
As an adult.
Oh, okay.
I think she's in the WandaVision trailer.
In the trailer, that's her.
Goes up and she's like, oh, who are you? And she's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
that is Monica.
That's her.
Okay.
So then she's going to be also I think she's going to be a part of the Ms. Marvel TV show, and then she's also in Captain Marvel 2 grown up, but same character. So you're going to have her, Captain Marvel, and Ms. Marvel all in the same movie.
Right. Okay. Marvelous.
That's a lot of Marvel.
Moving on, we have the Eternals. Yeah. So
I think they showed a trailer for this one.
Did they show a trailer? Okay,
we didn't see it.
No, we didn't see it.
We didn't see a lot. We didn't see shit.
But yeah, because that's rap filming. That's that would have been released. When was its original release? Was it end of this year?
Yeah,
I think it's been moved to the end of next year.
So yeah.
Because here, this one's going to be intriguing, because this is probably the IP I know the least about.
Yeah.
I know they've changed up the sex of some characters and changed a lot of stuff with this, but at the same time, let me be absolutely quaint. I'd get it if it was like a well-known character and they did all of that stuff, and I'd join the bandwagon, you know, if people getting pissed. But here's the thing. If no one bought the freaking comic book, because let's be fair, no one bought it. Why are you mad? That's my whole thing. I had a friend of mine that was proper mad. I was like, you've never bought a comic book in your life, so why are you mad? I'd understand if you were a fan and you had an affiliation to it, but if you've never bought a fucking comic book in your life, shut the fuck up and let us enjoy this iteration for what it is. Let's enjoy the movie for the movie. And sure, I'm going to bitch about a lot of other stuff, but you know what I mean? Like, cool.
Look, if you can't name one Eternal, fuss about if they're like, oh, they changed the sex on the Eternal character.
Yeah, it's like
which character?
Yeah, which character? Yeah, it's like who cares?
And there's talk of a young Thanos in this as well.
Yeah, so this is the other thing. This is an example where.
Get the rope.
This is an example of where they're using it as like the first film, I believe, like setting up like the greater universe outside of Earth and stuff. And apparently in
the first film.
Yeah, so this is going to be like the first MCU film if you were to watch it chronologically and stuff. So I think this is going to be really interesting. It's going to be something new as well. And I think the way Marvel are, I think this might be one of those game-changing films that we're totally unaware about, because so little is known about it, and I think that is probably the best thing about it. So
it's got Keanu Reeves in it, right? So
say what?
Yeah, Keanu Reeves is in the Eternals, isn't he?
Get the fuck out!
Is it?
I'm sure he is. Hang on.
No, Angelina Jolie's in it.
Yeah, Angelina Jolie's in it. Salma Hayek is in that.
Hold on, I've got the whole list here now. Gemma Chan, Angela Jolie, Richard Madden, Salma Hayek, Kit Harington, Kumail Nanjiani, Barry Keoghan, Beatrice Henry.
He was in talks to it. I don't know if it was ever confirmed, but I think he might have a small role in it.
Well, that's it. I think there must be more people in this film because the list just ends there, at least on the IMDb. Because there are a bunch of
Okay,
other people I've never met. I mean,
That's
seen,
the first.
sorry.
That's the first I've heard of Keanu Reeves. being
Yeah,
talked
so
about.
around June, July last year, there was loads of talks of him joining to appear in the Eternals. But I don't know if an agreement was ever made. It was never officially announced. I think it might, because Feige's often said we've been trying to find a way to get him into Marvel. But I think he might have like a bit of an uncredited role in this, you know, and just you won't know until you see him in the movie.
Or they might save him for something else. I mean,
yeah, I'm like, you don't waste. You bring that man in as like, oh yeah, we need young Galactus. I'm like, I'll take that.
you don't waste talent like that, man. Yeah, plus, the dude's already got his main superhero franchise. It's called John Wick.
Yeah, 2 of them are coming out.
But I think that it is going to be a thing, like you said, Ken, of I think Eternals is blatantly going to be. I think what it is that right now, because Eternals and Shang-Chi are the 2 properties that are probably either closest to completion or completed, that are getting the least amount of talk time, least amount of airtime, and I think that is going to be. Not to say it's intentional, but I think it's sort of like they're going to be like, you know, foundations of things to come. Because it's, I think they're going to be foundations of things to come, because it's sort of like, yeah, okay, Eternals establishes how the MCU was essentially created.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's going to be things like maybe whatever the big bad of all of Phase 4 is, it's going to line up with being like, oh, something that happened in the Eternals has a big causality towards that. Because, you know, I mean, Eternals, all right, it's a great property to just bring in for people who know nothing about it, but I'm like, it's not Guardians. It's not Black Panther. It's not Thor. It's not something that, like, if somebody was like, oh, we're going to start the MCU with Eternals, there'd be, what we know of the MCU wouldn't have come.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. And what it does now is just fleshes out that wider universe again to bring in some other characters, you know, some other villains, you know, whether it's Galactus, whatever it may be. So, yeah.
Okay, so next up, Hawkeye, the TV series. Now, I think they showed stuff off screen on this one. Yeah, you know what? I'm a Hawkeye fan. I want to see it. And it'll be interesting to see how he trains up his daughter.
It's not his daughter.
Is it not his daughter?
It's Kate Bishop.
I don't know who Kate Bishop is. This is new Marvel, so you got to educate me.
She's basically like Hawkette. She's like, you know, similar to him.
Right.
You know, a fantastic archer, highly trained, but he trains her up. He makes her like the new Hawkeye.
Right. Okay.
It's the young girl from Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Playing. Okay. Yep.
I think
Haley
she's a great
something.
actress. I think she's a great actress as well.
Haley Stanfield, is it?
What else has
that's
she
it.
done other than Bumblebee? Let's have a look.
And but yeah, we've seen some on-set pictures of them together.
I only know her
training
from
and
that
stuff
web
like that.
stream.
So,
But I mean, again, it's not ironic, but it's funny because again, I'm still playing the Avengers game. Like, you know, they released Kate Bishop as a playable character in Avengers over the last couple of days, and playing as her and seeing her kind of like the way that they've integrated her as a character. She's sort of like in the game, she's given that kind of Tony Stark-esque, like just say things, like almost like using humorous deflection. And I can imagine, like, I mean, by using the actress they're using, her with Jeremy Renner, it's sort of like, oh, okay, like you can see where some of that kind of humor is going to come from.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think, like, I'm glad I didn't see anything to do with it. But my main thing that I'm happy about was the fact that A, the show's coming, and B, they're still going to use Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, Yeah.
Because all of that, when there was some rumors like, oh, you know, Jeremy Renner's going to get cut, I'm like, nah, bro, leave him.
Yeah. And yeah, no, they're filming in New York at the moment. So yeah, I think it'll be due. I think it's out next year.
Okay, so next up we have She-Hulk, and you know what? Now they've confirmed that Mark Ruffalo is in it. I'm in because that means the origin. You know, one thing I'm always afraid of, and I guess I should never bet against Feige, is that like without Mark Ruffalo not being in it, you can't have a She-Hulk really.
Yeah,
because that's part of the freaking. That's so specific to the origin story, you know, with the blood transfusion and stuff.
But dude, I'm more psyched about Tim Roth coming back as Abomination.
Well, I was gonna mention that in a minute. I was simmering up to it, dude, and then you just charged in there, and then
that's the news.
But yeah, that is the news. So Abomination is back. Tim Roth is signed to the series. Yeah, I'm in. I'm interested to see what they do. Guys, thoughts?
I was already in from the day one when I found out that Tatiana Maslany was in it, because she's
fantastic talent.
Orphan Black, and that show. I mean, that woman should have gotten like 10 Emmys for that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she played 10, 20 characters by herself, and every time she played them, you bought them.
Yeah.
I mean, she played the same, like multiple characters in one episode, and you thought they were all different people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so since day one, I was like ecstatic, and the fact that Tim Roth is in it and Mark Ruffalo's in it, there's no way I'm not watching that thing.
I mean, I'm imagining for the She-Hulk they're going to go CGI. So I think it's the only real way. But you know, She-Hulk's always been a character who's not as big as a Hulk from my memory.
Yeah.
So she's always seemed more of a person who just grows slightly as opposed to, you know, beasting out. So, and I don't think the actress is that tall, but unless they do trick photography in the sense that they keep her green and just have it as her, then they can just make her look bigger, like Lord of the Rings style, you know, make it look bigger than what it is. So it'll be interesting to see which way they go with it. From a TV show point of view, you'd think from a cost saving thing, it wouldn't be the CGI, but then it's Disney, so they'll
probably do it anyway.
Yeah,
we got money.
I imagine what is probably going to be is motion capture, but I think on top of that they'll just have her on stilts, like platforms, because I mean the character of She-Hulk as She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters, is like 6'3" or something.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Not that she's not like, you know, like the Hulk is like 10 foot tall and hugely muscled. Like she basically goes from what we could say is a average sized woman to like a bodybuilder sized woman.
Yeah. Because the actress, she's quite short, isn't she?
Yeah, but
she's like 5'4".
Yeah.
So I imagine they'll just put her on stilts or have her on a raised platform.
I'll be just interested to see what they'll do. I mean, it could be completely different. That'll be fine with me.
Well, they could go back to the whole Lou Ferrigno way of stuff, and
the main takeaway from me for this though was he referenced her being a lawyer, and a lawyer who supports superheroes. And don't be surprised if other characters make an appearance in this show. This is where Daredevil is coming. This is where
that's pretty cool.
Coming, and I'd love it to be Charlie Cox to come back. I think it would be, because everyone loved that series and there's no reason for it not to be the same character. But that is where we'll next see him, if he doesn't appear in Spider-Man or whatever else there is out there. But I think he'll have a recurring role for a few episodes.
I think you might get Charlie Cox sooner than you think.
Yeah, he might appear in Spider-Man. He might.
Yeah, there's a big rumor about that. And the same guys that leaked the Molina Electro stuff saying that that's the case.
Yeah, we need that Kingpin in that Spider-Man universe. That would be
definitely 100%.
You know what it is? It's Daredevil season 2. It's Kingpin having his conversations with Frank Castle in prison. It's seeing that master manipulator having a conversation with Tom Holland.
Chilling. Yeah.
That is just like, I could literally, like, I see it happening in my head, and I'm like, that's the kind of thing that you're like, look, the person in the booth doing the film, like, rewind that bit.
And I think that's why I think with all this multiverse stuff, I was almost disappointed, because I wanted Spider-Man to be more grounded. than going too fantastical too early. But from a timing point of view, I get it. You've got the Doctor Strange stuff. You've got these actors who are getting older now, and I understand that. But yeah, I wanted to see some more low-level stuff. I wanted to see some Craven stuff. I wanted to see some Kingpin stuff. You know, just like that street crime, gangs, all that kind of stuff. You know, and so that's where my disappointment, I think, mainly lies. But I mean, you can bring it back down. It won't be a problem. But for me, they've gone too big with Spider-Man too soon.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so next up, one I'm excited for, Moon Knight with Oscar Isaacs in the title role. My man's playing everything. My man's been in Star Wars.
They didn't announce Oscar Isaac on the platform, though, did they?
They did mention it.
They mentioned it. No,
did Kevin Feige mention it?
Yeah, he mentioned his name.
Okay, cool. I must have missed that then.
Yeah, he mentioned his name. He's played by Oscar Isaac. And
okay, cool.
So, yeah, Oscar Isaac. He's Moon Knight. He's Solid Snake.
I don't know anything about this. Can somebody enlighten me here?
So he's kind of like a Bruce Wayne type. He's a bit of an adventurer as well, kind of Indiana Jones-esque kind of thing.
He's like Bruce Wayne, Indiana Jones
melded into one, but he also has multiple personalities.
So whatever you guys have said, and what the brief says on their actual list, it says Mark Spector is a former CIA agent whose life is saved by a moon god, Khonshu. Yeah, they don't mix. So you're telling me about the personality, and that, well, so what's the story? What's he? Is he like a hero? What is he?
A hero. He's like a vigilante.
Oh, vigilante. Okay.
So anti-hero. Yeah.
A hero. All right. Cool. So are we expecting something like?
Think of it. The best way I can describe it. Think of it in a ever so slightly very loose way of Shazam with Batman. Think of like, but not the turning from a kid to an adult, but the kind of essence of that mystical kind of realm.
Yeah.
Take that. And
so what about like Doctor Strange, where he was a surgeon, non-believer, and everything, and suddenly a wizard?
Well, what you're gonna get is someone who is very grounded in the reality of things, because former CIA agent, they're not going to really heavily believe in mystical gems and jewels, and they're going to be like, no, look, here's what happens when you use a gun. Yeah. Here's what happens when you use martial arts to beat someone up. Yeah. That is,
but that is something like
Split.
Well, Doctor Strange, when he comes to believing in stuff, it was later on that he, because he practices, he believes in it, but he doesn't believe in it before. Anyway, cool. So we're all looking forward to this then.
I'm just reading all the news outlets, and it doesn't say Feige mentioned his name at all.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I heard him say that.
Yeah.
Nothing. He said he only announced the director, Mohammed Diab. So I'm gonna have to rewatch that. But yeah, I'm looking. No outlet has confirmed is in the news saying that he's part of it.
Interesting.
But anyway,
DB. So you're saying it could be a rumor that they've put it on?
I think he probably is. I mean, everywhere's pretty much said he is taking it on, but it wasn't part of the announcement.
Okay.
He is cast as that on IMDb. But yeah, what was I going to say?
Well, if it's not him, Roll's gonna have disrespect coming their way.
It's Keanu Reeves, man. That's who it is.
Yeah.
It's Keanu Reeves. So you have Secret Vision. Now you know what? This is getting me pumped.
Oh, I'm really excited about this one.
Show, and he's teaming up with Ben Mendelsohn's, which means they're Skrulls. Yeah, I'm in. Done something. They've done something. They've made the Nick Fury thing a lot more than you know what I mean. Like what you'd expect the Nick Fury thing's going to be, if that makes sense. Because everyone just think, I'll make a Nick Fury movie. And first thought is, let's just make a bog standard action movie. Just put Nick Fury in it. Boom, there it is. But no, not Marvel. They're like, we're gonna move Marvel Cinematic Universe story forward. We're going to put in some scrolls in there. It's going to be a body cop thing, I think. I don't know, but like that's the only way it could be, right? I don't know. Thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I mean, he did say it was going to obviously tie into the MCU as well. Made it's going to push forward the stories. Obviously, the end of Captain Marvel, you've got the end of Spider-Man, you had the scrolls revealed and him up in the spaceship and stuff like that. So there's very little about it. I don't know too much about the Secret Invasion storyline, to be honest, even though it's one of the biggest in the comics. I don't think I actually read it, but I know it's massive. It's kind of surprising that they're doing it via the show first, if that is the case. But maybe it just doesn't lend itself to the movies in a sense of, would all the movies accumulate to a point where the Secret Invasion is the main storyline, then something happens? Or is it loads of stuff going on in the background for such a long period of time? So, without knowing too much about it, more Nick Fury, Ben Mendelsohn, I think is a fantastic actor. Scroll it up.
I think because I was reading Secret Invasion as it was coming out, like month by month, week by week, and in my mind, as much as I'd love it to be a film, I don't think it would work as a film because the way the MCU is set up, not even the way it's set up the characters, but just the way the entire world has been set up. You could do a Secret Invasion, but it would look nothing like the comic. The comic Secret Invasion, for those who don't know, is you basically find out that the Skrulls have invaded Earth as they have sleeper agents, because this is when Skrulls were bad guys, people, not the refugees that we know them as today. They were villains, and they came to Earth, and what they did was there was a mission that had like an entire spaceship full of superheroes. And that spaceship went into space, something happened, and then it came back to Earth. And what you find out is the one that came back to Earth was all Skrull sleeper agents who were impersonating all of those heroes. Because normally Skrulls can only replicate what you look like and some of your immediate memories. But
Spider-Man, the last one, the
Far From Home?
the end of the credit. Remember that part? The spaceship, and they were pretending to be maybe.
Nick.
I'm guessing that's it.
Well, it's similar to that, but when they came down, they were bad guys. But normally, Skrulls can only impersonate what you look like, unless they're Super Skrulls, in which they can impersonate your powers. Like if you are someone who has powers. So when you find out the way the storyline basically was that you didn't know who to trust because you didn't know what hero was really who they are and what hero was a Skrull in disguise. And it was like you find out, and there was like big reveals, like Spider-Woman wound up being a Skrull, and it was like, holy shit, Spider-Woman's a Skrull. And it was like there were certain X-Men who were Skrulls, and it was a big deal.
So do you think this? Sorry. Go on.
Yeah.
So do you think this?
Go on.
No, I was just wondering if this Secret Invasion, the TV show, is going to come after the Spider-Man thing. Is that what it's going to be?
Yeah, it's coming out after.
Yeah, it's coming out after Spider-Man.
No, after. I mean, like in the story-wise.
Yes. Yeah. Story-wise, it'll be after, because what it'll probably be is Talos, Ben Mendelsohn's character, Talos and Nick Fury will probably be. They'll probably find out there's like a sect of Skrulls who have invaded Earth, and they've, they're sleeper agents and they're up to no good. And those two are like, going after them. So it won't be as massive and major as extensive as like what the comic was. But yeah, I'm happy that they're coming. I'm happy that it's coming.
I'm excited for those because they had a good chemistry on that film, the Marvel film, and finally Fury got his own film. I mean, finally, right? After all of these years. And on top of it, I like Ben Mendelsohn, man. This guy has done so much cool stuff. Not only like small part in movies, but his TV shows, especially The Outsider. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
And what else has been in? He's been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, I loved it. He was amazing in Bloodline.
Yeah. Rogue One. I mean, he's been in everything. So I'm very excited for this.
Okay, next up we have Ironheart. I know fuck all about Ironheart. I'll let Neil explain to me origin and everything. But yeah, I've got no expectation for this. I really don't. They just said it was coming. I'm familiar about the character, but to be honest, I've never read up on her. I've never read the comic. By my understanding, it's a replacement for Iron Man, or just a successor in sort of a way, or is she a genius out on her own right and makes her own?
Yeah,
thing,
she is a genius inventor.
Yeah, he's basically like the way. Well, in the comic books, the way things are set up is that there are many people in the MCU who have a genius level intellect, and these people usually have it from young. So, like Peter Parker has a genius level intellect, but
kind of like Reed Richards.
Yeah, so Reed, T'Challa, Tony, Peter Parker. You know, these people have genius level intellects, but depending on obviously when they got their powers and what's happened in their life, is whether it gets explored. Riri Williams, it was like one of the latest two people to get to have this backstory, and what it is she basically finds, if I'm remembering correctly, she finds parts of Tony Stark's like old armor, like one of his old armors, and repurposes it and uses it. Like she basically reverse engineers it and makes her armor, and that puts her on Tony Stark's radar.
Right.
And then he like kind of takes her under his wing.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, like throughout the course of that comic series, Tony Stark winds up dying.
Right.
And he has his own AI consciousness that is him that assists her.
Right. Okay.
So she becomes Ironheart. You know, it's sort of like, think of it as in like, oh, she's the young Avenger Iron Man.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and again, they said this is going to lead into the movies, so I think she will appear in the movies later on. I wouldn't be surprised if they get Robert Downey Jr. back to do some voice acting to do the AI part, because you know he left his helmet, you know, with the hologram and stuff like that. Yeah. But they could be very well be something
easy money. It works for Mandalorian. The guy's barely on set.
Yeah,
and like, you know what I mean? Like, it's an easy payday, man, for RDJ. Doesn't even have to wear a suit.
Yeah,
a day's worth of ADR done.
Yeah, because Happy John Favreau is too busy to be doing that kind of stuff, man. So Robert needs some work.
Yeah,
John Favreau's doing chef as well, so
well, yeah, but he does that when he's cooking like once a week with his friends. So you know, it's like, hey, let's record the evening. You know,
it's really funny if you actually watch that and if you're a big Star Wars fan. He does a lot of the cooking shows at the Star Wars Ranch.
I haven't seen the recent ones.
He did a whole
I saw
Skywalker Ranch, and like, because they have like, I didn't even know this, they have like a whole like vegetable farm and like meat farm. They have a whole ranch. It is a ranch.
So it's a working ranch, yeah.
Food and produce and everything that they make there, and a lot of the food that gets cooked, that you see people like that are cooked on the ranch.
Yeah, that's right. George Lucas likes the good life, innit? Because like he lives there, man. He actually lives there. He built the whole thing, and he did that because he didn't want to go to Hollywood. He was like, I'm building my own studio in San Francisco, and he was going to make his own damn movies. I mean, he said after Revenge of the Sith that he was just going to make. That's another reason why he sold the company. Just one part of it was because of like he wanted to spend more time with his newborn daughter. The other part of it was the movies that he wanted to make were all going to be independent movies that don't require big massive budgets and stuff like that. And more importantly, he didn't want to show them to anyone. He didn't want to put it on Hulu or stream it. He was like, no, I'm making it, and I'm making it for myself. I'm going to film it with my friends, and there's no money in it. So you know what I mean? Like, guy's a G, he's doing what he wants. But yeah, guy has whole farms and cows and all kinds of stuff. But yeah. But back to Chef, I've only seen like the first couple of like episodes when it first was a thing, just to get a sense of what it was about. I liked it. I like the Gwyneth Paltrow one. That was funny. She didn't know which MCU
movie she's been in. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like the Bill Burr one because like he openly mocks Star Wars because he doesn't. The great thing about him being in Mandalorian is because the real Bill Burr doesn't know anything about Star Wars, and that's kind of why he was cast because of his persona, and it suits. It suits. But yeah. Anyway,
let's go back to
Marvel. Armor Wars. Armor Wars. Not too keen on the title, but I like the fact that Rhodey's getting his own show. Get Don Cheadle doing some War Machine stuff. I wonder why it's called Armor Wars, though. I mean, like
it's reference to that comic, isn't it?
Oh, is it? I don't know about the comic.
Oh,
educate me. Educate me.
Armor Wars is basically what happens if I remember correctly. In Armor Wars, it's Tony's armors get AI.
Right.
And they don't like Tony.
Well, Tony's dead, so like...
Yeah, but
they don't like War Machine.
They don't like War Machine?
Yeah, but if I remember correctly, what was said in the live stream was that it's Tony's worst fear is what happens if his armor falls into the wrong hands.
Right, okay.
And obviously, I think it does perfectly suit because it ties...
So Iron Man 2.
Because it's... But more than that, because, you know, Iron Man 2 was one person getting access to some of Tony's, you know, well, not even getting like Tony's technology. This is someone whose dad was around at the same time.
Yeah.
So this is what actually happens when someone can get a working Iron Man armor and be like, well, hey, fuck Tony Stark, right? Let me do what I'm doing. And because obviously Tony is dead, it does fall on Rhodey to kind of be like, okay, I gotta go deal with this. Plus, he's a military man. But also, I think what it will tie into is probably the fact that when we look at Ironheart, if Ironheart is someone, if Riri Williams is someone who found some, you know, Iron Man tech and reverse engineered it for good, maybe Rhodey turns up in Ironheart and he's like, you're not supposed to have this. And then the realization that she's actually using it for good. And he's like, you know what? I think I know, you know, we got a kind of training facility that you could go to. You know, so it's sort of like it can tie all these things together.
And isn't like Peter Parker like in charge of like Stark Industries now or something?
No, Pepper Potts is in charge of it. Like what it is just the AI technology in relation to Iron Man is what Peter Parker has.
Right.
But even then, because of obviously the end of Far From Home, we don't know how much of that he's going to still have access to, because if he got to try and whether it's like a side note, side story, or not involved at all, if the world thinks that Spider-Man's a murderer, you can't exactly be bouncing around with Stark technology. Yeah. So, you know, things would probably have to distance themselves from it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, this was the show I was probably least excited about. I'm not, you know, we've had a lot of Iron Man. He's built all his suits. He destroyed all his suits. You know, yeah, I'm not too fussed about this. I'll have to wait till we get a little bit more about what it's going to be about, who else is going to be in it. Don Cheadle's good, but can he carry a whole TV show for that type? I don't know. I know he's done other TV shows and he's been great, but I think he's a good supporting cast around him. I think it's going to be depending on who's around. Unless they can get like Terrence Howard back as a multiverse version of him.
No, do you know what I imagine? I wouldn't be surprised if we see Justin Hammer back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so next up we have the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Now, you know what? The minute James Gunn was announced he was back, hang on, you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the minute they announced he was back, I knew this was on the cards, because just after Guardians 2, he did that funky music video with David Hasselhoff, or as part of the extras and stuff on the Guardians DVD. He mentioned on the DVD that his dream would be to do a holiday special. You know what I mean? Two things. I'm surprised they didn't announce the Ravagers movie, but then I guess they're probably saving that for much later, because that was another thing he said he wanted to do. He wanted There's a reason why you had Sylvester Stallone and all those guys. He wanted to do a spin-off Guardians movie, but based on the original team, but with Sylvester Stallone and all those guys, basically. But you know, that wasn't on the lineup. But hey, we get this. Pretty sure it's just going to be like a little, you know, like the Star Wars Holiday Special, hour thing for Disney Plus. They've announced they're going to shoot it same time that they're shooting Guardians 3. So be interesting to see what they do. Fun little thing for the holidays before, and I think it's set before Guardians 3 as well. So that's going to be cool. So,
I think part of me is thinking that we may not get a Ravagers movie the way as intended, because Michelle Yeoh is in Guardians, but Michelle Yeoh is also in Shang-Chi, isn't she? And she's not playing the same character.
But she's not under a lot of makeup in Guardians, isn't she?
No, you can clearly see it's her.
Oh, okay.
Like she's got eye makeup on and like her hair's in a particular way, but it's like you can look, you'd be like, that's Michelle Yeoh.
Okay. Michelle Yeoh could double up, then you know.
Michelle Yeoh could double
what's
up.
her name? I want Momoa as Craven. Done.
It's okay. Multiverse. Multiverse.
But I'm gonna say Gemma Chan is doing double duty because she's in Captain Marvel and she's in Eternals, and she's not the same person in both. So
nah.
Okay, so next up, I Am Groot.
I Am Groot.
Sure, more Groot. I'm in.
Yeah.
What a fucking cheap show that's going to be.
Of course, man.
Well, that's the thing. They said that it's not even going to be like a show, so to speak. It's going to be a bunch of little, like short.
It's going to be like Scrat, you know, for Ice Age.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a bunch of those. So yeah, I'm not fussed. It'll be fine. 2, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. I don't.
Yes, aimed at the kids.
Yeah.
I think one thing. It's not a problem because by the next time we see Groot outside of the holiday special, he'll be like back to grown up Groot. But I think it's sort of like, I think they realized too late what they had with Baby Groot. I feel like, you know, now that obviously we have, you know, Grogu, Baby Yoda for the uninitiated, you know, now that we have that, and it's like seeing how much the world gravitates to it, that people are like, oh, you know, they're like, oh, well, hold up, we got Baby Groot, like, yo, and they were like, nah, he was teenage Groot last time we saw him, man. It's
exactly, like, Baby Groot's done, man. I'm done. It was great for that movie. If they could have kept it for the next, you know, through Avengers, but obviously they decided to have it as a teenager. So yeah, it's just something for the kids, let's face it.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up we have Thor Love and Thunder. Now here's something that just broke on Deadline. So
Christian Bale?
No, that's been announced ages ago, like months and months.
They announced
ago.
he was in it, but they confirmed now who he was playing.
So, they've announced now who it's playing, but just now, right now, this second, according to my boy Colin, Deadline has announced that Jamie Alexandra is to reprise her role as Lady Sif for Thor Love and Thunder. So Lady Sif is back, which I think is big news because she hasn't been around since, what was it, Dark Worlds?
Yeah.
Or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., depending on how you look at it.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So she's back. Lady Sif is back. I think that's the biggest news, even though it was unrelated to this press conference. But yeah, Thor got Love and Thunder, more of the same. Taika Waititi's like badgering on. He's a busy guy because he's doing this and he's doing Star Wars afterwards. Should be good. I mean, I don't think they added anything new. So
no, they didn't announce anything. They literally just confirmed Bale in terms of his role and stuff like that.
Who's he playing?
Gore the God Butcher.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he's the villain of the piece, which I think is great for Bale. I think that's gonna be really cool. And you know, maybe bringing Lady Sif back is a bit of a love triangle thing with with Natalie Portman coming back and stuff like that. So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting to see the balance of. Because obviously the last time we saw Thor was big fat Thor, you know, and you know he's off with the Guardians, and how how that's going to be, because obviously Valkyrie was supposed to be taking over New Asgard, in that terms of that village and stuff. So how does Natalie Portman come back? How does she get his powers? Does he relent? Does he go? What happens to Thor? How much is he going to be in it? So it's going to be interesting to see how it kind of plays out. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because I love Thor Ragnarok.
Ragnarok was the best film.
I mean, hang on, what was I going to say? Yeah, the one thing I'm intrigued is that with Taika Waititi, we've got Christian Bale. Christian Bale doesn't do comedies, or hasn't really done that many comedies, as far as I'm aware of. He's more a serious actor. So to see him ham it up as a villain in a movie, I can't wait to see what that is, because that's when an actor's really enjoying their craft, if that makes sense. And yeah, I can't wait to see it. And it's a completely polar opposite to his Nolan stuff as well. So that's really cool to see, I think. Next up, Blade. Not a lot here other than it's happening.
I think they're struggling to probably get the tone of the series right. So I think that is probably going to be the biggest divide for fans, will be how violent is it, how graphic is it, because it's not going to be R-rated, it's not going to be mature. It is a Disney Plus show. It's going to tie into that.
It's not a Disney Plus show.
No, it's a movie.
It's a movie.
Sorry, movie, yeah. But what I'm saying is it's still under all of that umbrella in terms of its age restriction. So I think they're going to struggle with that a little bit. But, instead of blood, it's just going to be like exploding vampires or something. I don't know. But
dust. But like Buffy, they blow into dust.
Blade would have been a great Netflix series. In terms of that maturity. But
sure.
See what they do.
I think me and Neil really went to town on this last time this was mentioned in a podcast. I'm intrigued, but I'm not excited, mainly because of that. The way I see it is, if you're going to do Blade, you have to top 1 and 2. And because I watched one a couple of months ago. It's still it's got 90s cheese in it, but it holds up really well as an action movie.
1 and 2 definitely does.
And
3 is
coochie coo. 3, fuck that movie. But no, I mean, it's a hard one to live up to. It's a real hard one to live up to. I'll be intrigued to see who am I kidding? I'm going to be there opening day, but without recycling what we've said time and time again, let's move on to the next thing, I guess. Because all right. So next up, we have Ant-Man 3, or Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania. I could just about pronounce that.
Quantumania.
It's like WrestleMania.
Oh, okay. Quantumania. So quantum realms, time travel.
They're leg dropping that motherfucking movie.
So what is this? Back to the Future Part 3?
Something like that.
Yeah. So be interested to see what they do there. I guess this kind of wraps up all the multiverse stuff.
It's
got it in the title.
I have to say, I'm quite intrigued by this one because of 2 things: the villain and who they cast as the villain. So they said they announced that it was going to be, was it Kang? Right. So I'm like, all right, it's going to be Kang. That's a pretty big deal.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Big bad.
What really got me was the casting of Jonathan Majors, who, like, for those who don't know, he plays the main character Atticus in Lovecraft Country.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I'm like, he's a seriously good actor.
But that was announced some time ago. We've covered that on podcast previously, haven't we?
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
Like completely void of that. So I didn't know that. But him being cast, I was like, that's a win. And then him being cast as Kang, like in my mind, I'm like, I'm sure that Marvel have gotten to the point now, even though there is no film to give this real credence to, but I think they've gotten to the point where they know that maybe killing off all of their villains is not the way forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like with a character like Kang, you can't kill him.
No.
immediately. You can't give him one film and then he's dead. So I imagine that he'll be in more than one. So
let's hope so.
Yeah, and I'm going with that actor. Yeah, man, do your thing.
Yeah, I mean everyone's coming back, aren't they? And we're gonna have Casey Lang back as well. So because obviously he came back, she's grown up. So she's going to be a part of that franchise now as well. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the two Ant-Man movies. The last one, not as much as the first one, but they're still good value, you know. So
yeah, they're very good for like whole family movies. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a full-on comic book fan to be watching these films. Yeah.
Yeah, so next up we have Black Panther 2.
Yeah.
Black Panther 2. Ken, what can I say? You were right, I was wrong.
Yeah, I didn't.
Looks like they're sticking to their guns.
Yeah.
Looks like they're sticking to their guns with no recast. Yeah, I get it. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I don't think either of us didn't understand the other point. It was just like personal preference. So
yeah, it was personal
I didn't think
preference.
Disney would have I didn't think they had the balls to do it, to be honest. I think, but whether you look at it as a respect issue, and totally, but I just think they would have found it too difficult, and I think it would have been too much pressure to put on an actor in that cast and crew. So I think they'll honor him in the right way. I think they'll serve the character well in the beginning of the movie as a transition. And yeah, I fully expect one or two things. It's either going to be the sister to take over as Black Panther, and that's going to be kind of the arc of the story. She's struggling with the death of her brother. She's being put into positions she wasn't prepared for. You know, she was never groomed to be a queen like T'Challa was. There's a whole movie right there. Unless somebody else comes in. So Killmonger, did he actually die off screen? Is he going to come back? You know, do we have there's going to be a war for the mantle? Because obviously there's no king, so all the other people are going to be coming back now and try, you know, Mbaku and stuff like that. But you know, there was a friendship there, so maybe there's lots of different things that can happen. But it's obviously changed the thought process, because obviously they're having to rewrite the movie, and he pretty much said as much. He said Ryan Coogler's like working on it, so I think they start filming in a few months, not too far away.
Yeah,
so they got to turn it around pretty quick.
Yeah, so be interesting to see what they pull out of it as well.
Well, what I've read in the article simply said that they're going to focus on all the other characters that they were already there in the present, and the ones that were introduced later on at the end in the Avengers, I think. And I don't know what to make of that really, but that's what I read in the newspaper article. Unlike you guys, I did not see the press conference last night. I just read this.
Yeah, he pretty much he touched on the fact that, you know, how Chadwick was so important to them all. He transcended the role and, you know, what it meant to people. And for that reason, they're not going to recast, and they're going to be moving forward, concentrating on the other characters, which basically means Shuri, you know, and the other. So, which I think is, I Killmonger, he said, "Bury me here." We didn't actually see him die. We saw him fold over, but they got the technology there. They might have been able to save him. And I'm wondering whether he might come back. So
I don't. I think for the nature of to preserve the nature of the character, needs to stay dead, because the fact is, even though technically we didn't 100% see him die, like in my mind, I'm like, we saw him die. He healed over. He's dead. And the fact that T'Challa gave him the option where he was like, we can save you, and he was like, no. And that, like, his final speech where he was like, you know, bury me in the ocean with my ancestors who knew that, you know, death was better than, you know, bondage. That there are certain things you can't undermine, and I feel like trying to bring Killmonger back would undermine it. Also, on top of that, like, I can't imagine him coming back and then suddenly being like, I'm going to honor T'Challa's memory. As opposed to, so that plan I had before about giving everybody guns, we're still going to roll with that.
Yeah.
Right? So I imagine him being gone. The fact of not recasting T'Challa, like when this first happened and we did a podcast about it, I did say that I was like, I'd kind of prefer them not to recast. I prefer them to just bring in, to let Shuri take over. And it's the kind of situation where there's so many logical points between recasting and no, he's gone, we're going to move on with someone else. There's so many logical reasons for why you should do one thing and shouldn't do another, or why you should do one thing and not do the other. But like when you said, Ken, about like not about being dubious about whether Marvel got the balls to do it, I feel like Marvel's probably the only people with the balls to do it, because of the fact that, because even though they are a film studio, they come from a storytelling point of view to begin with. They come from, our characters are what made us become a film studio, not we wanted to make films and we just so happened to have this plethora of characters to go into it with. So I think like they're like, no. We've dealt with these kind of situations where a character has died and we've had to see how does the world react to that death.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree and I don't agree, because they bring whoever they want back for like Star Wars, this and the other. So I think that Disney,
that's the thing, it's Marvel, not Disney.
No, I know that, I get that, but ultimately, if Kevin Feige, yes, he has. If someone came down on Kevin Feige and said, no, we want another Black Panther, I don't know how much he could refuse it. He might lose his job, but it might be a big fight. But because of the way the Marvel interact with their actors and they create this family and everyone loves working with each other, I think it was more of a respect issue for the person he was. Yeah. And how the family felt about that, and having to bring someone into that to fill those shoes. I think that they thought, no character in our movies are going to stay alive. We've killed off Iron Man, Captain America's kind of gone now. Why do we feel that we have to recast this person to keep those stories alive? We can tell the stories in just a slightly different way. So, it's kind of just pushed their timeline up, because, it's something that may have happened anyway down
the line.
Yeah, and it's just pushed their timeline up, and it's just like, what? Multiverse. If we want to bring in a different Black Panther at a different time, whether we find that, the king was a bad man and he had children elsewhere, and, we have someone else coming down the line, there's so many different things that you can do story-wise down the line. Shuri, could marry and have a kid, and then that kid then becomes the next Black Panther. Yeah. So therefore it's continuing the bloodline. So yeah, I'm not too concerned. She might end up calling him T'Challa after her brother, so there's different ways that they can do it, but I totally understand why they've done it the way they've done it now, and I respect it, and that was my preference.
Yeah, I think
I know there's so many people felt that there's so many stories of T'Challa not told. Yeah, they feel there's so much more to be said, and I'm just like, what? Different time, different place. It can happen again.
Yeah, but I mean, one thing that is like going through my mind is that I feel like what could probably wind up coming to pass. I mean, obviously, like to a degree, you shouldn't put too much like emphasis on the law that films establish within their worlds. But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so the purple-hearted flower got destroyed, like, Killmonger burned down the entire thing, right? I mean, granted, yes, they could say that, oh, well, somebody kept one and then they've repurposed the whole flowers, or they can say whatever they want to say in regards to it, of to how Shuri takes over that mantle.
Repurpose the flower from his blood. They take T'Challa's blood and they recreate it, or
there's so many different ways of going around it. Also, I mean, them having a flower that takes the power out of him, surely, like, if you got something that can take the power out of someone, surely you could reverse engineer it to put power into someone. But all of that being regardless, I think what could happen is it could be a thing of that Shuri, if it is Shuri becoming the new Queen of Wakanda, Black Panther, that she basically, because of its like Letitia Wright as well as Shuri the character are both in a position that they probably never thought they'd be in.
Yeah, totally.
They are now essentially the star of this billion-dollar franchise that they were like, I'm just part of it, not the star. And now that she probably finds herself in a position of being the star of it, I can imagine that it will be like, okay, let's pull you to the side because there's a whole bunch of things that you didn't know that you now have to know. And I can imagine that that's what's going to be what brings it. Like, you know, it'll be like Shuri discovers a whole bunch of stuff as we as characters discover it.
Daniel Kaluuya, was he a proper bad guy in it? Because he kind of sided.
No. He's T'Challa's best friend, and they just have a difference of an opinion.
So could he take the mantle?
Yeah, because he's part of the border tribe. So if they do that ceremony, he could be the guy.
You know, if they wanted to go with that, but you know, because I think he's a great, strong actor, and I think he could carry that role. So might be interesting if they went that way.
But do you know another thing is, which I find funny, is if we're looking at all the characters who could potentially become the new Black Panther, if not Shuri, or to stand in opposition to Shuri. I think I'm like, everyone becomes it makes Shuri being the Black Panther more dynamic, because what it is like there's all these other people who are, maybe they're physically stronger or better fighters than she is, or maybe they're better suited due to the things that they know. What it does is like it establishes sort of like who's got Shuri's best interests, who's trying to manipulate her, and it's like, is she too young to see all of these things, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, good luck to the team, and you know, the writing and stuff is a very difficult job, and you know, I'm sure it's gonna be very difficult when they start filming as well. So yeah, we just hope good things for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, the finale. The fantastic finale. Fantastic Four. I can no longer diss this title by referring to it as Fan Four Stick. Okay, which is a name I proudly name a certain movie. But you know what? I can throw that name in the bin. It's coming home. It's coming home.
What did they say anything about it? Sorry.
No, they've just announced it, and all they've said is they've hired a director. Not my first choice, but you know what? He came left field for me. They hired what's his name? John Watts.
John Watts, who directed the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, and Cop Car. If you've not seen Cop Car, which is his first indie film, it's got Kevin Bacon in it, and it's literally about a group of kids that steal a cop car, and the cop's a dirty cop, and he's out to get the kids because he's got it's crazy. It's a good film. It's a great film, and obviously he's kind of went from one indie movie to Spider-Man in one chess move, and guys making moves, man. Guys making some moves and monies.
What do we bet that Johnny Storm's gonna make an appearance in Spider-Man 3?
Ooh.
Nah.
Same director? He'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna set myself up a little tease here, right at the end, maybe.
Possibly.
Anything is possible. The multiverse, if they wanted to, they can establish multiverse now. Fantastic Four are here. They've always been here. Just another world come across. Obviously, we've got different opinions how we would do it. So check out Creative Control as we discuss this very topic, where we discuss how we would introduce the Fantastic Four into the MCU. There's lots of possibilities, and anything is possible right now.
And about the actors as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we cast it. We nailed it. I've tweeted Marvel and Kevin Feige and John Watts. I said, look, here we go. Just watch this. So we'll have to see if he watches our video and whether he takes our ideas. I tweeted him direct. I was like, here you go. I've done it for you. Don't worry about it. We got you.
You got there early, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. I went straight up. I was like, John, relax. We got you. We got you.
Joker. Oh, God.
Neil, this is a long time coming for you, right? Get emotion.
Man, it's dusty out here. Right? Like I would literally that news came at 1 a.m. I had to be awake at like 5:45 a.m. And I was like, I ain't going to sleep until I see them words. I almost I don't live by myself. I live with a number of people, and I almost woke my whole family up because man, best news. That's like some of the top news of my 2020. Is that I've never been so immediately excited for a film since I was when the very first time they announced that we were making a Fantastic Four film, right?
Sexy logo as well, right?
Huh?
Sexy logo.
Oh
yeah.
It's a nice logo.
When I saw that logo, I was like, yeah, I could own a hoodie with that.
Yeah.
I could own that one.
Yeah. I could have a mug that has that thing on it.
I cannot describe the level of excitement I have because it's seeing the perfect marriage of property and creative talent. And it's like, you want to see like, oh, what would happen if this person got this? And it's like, now it's finally, the first family, the essential origin of Marvel, right? And when I say the essential origin of Marvel, as in Marvel Comics, as the imprint that we know it, Fantastic Four was their debut. And to finally see them back, I'm just like, oh man. Feige, bro, I could have kissed you when I saw that, bro. Man, like you are now like the king of Zamunda. Like I will throw rose petals at your feet when you walk because I'm so happy.
And I think for me, the great thing about this Disney announcement is they haven't touched on mutants and X-Men. That's still relatively new, in terms of, our years, in terms of exposure to it. There's, what was Dark Phoenix? Was it last year?
Yeah.
Probably. So, it's still so very, very fresh. They got a good few years. They can just leave that and have a rest and the breather that it needs. If they want to, in a couple of years' time, start like throwing one or two characters into certain movies to establish the mutants and all that kind of stuff. That is totally cool. But yeah, keep that away. Fantastic Four's got such an opportunity with these characters to do them right, and the stories and the interactions with all these other ones. You think of Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Strange and Peter Parker and, all these kind of possibilities that you have for the future. And I think the biggest thing for me is the characters that we have now, for me in my childhood and what I grew up with reading and watching, they're so entwined with Spider-Man. They need to make sure that deal just keeps going. Because, I watched Spider-Man interacting with Daredevil, with Doctor Strange, and the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like, Tom Holland's got so many years he can play this role, and he will play it as long as they'll let him. He seems to be the guy, like, he loves it and he just wants to keep doing it. Like, they can keep this going and just, there's so many opportunities for some amazing storylines.
And plus, the guy still looks like he's 14 years old. I think
he's
a bunch of years on it.
Exactly.
When you look at it, and it's like seeing the idea of regardless of all the films he does outside of it, it's like it'd be a pleasure, an honor, and like a genuine comfort to watch Tom Holland grow up into like a fully grown adult.
Yeah,
Peter Parker.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this is why I always hammered it from day one, even from day one. Like, I'm not a big Harry Potter fan. That's kind of renowned across the board. But I do admire the series, and I admire what it's done for the fans, because what it's done, you have this character, you see him grow up. They got the ball running by bringing one out every year for at least the first couple, and then you know what I mean, then every 2 years I think, and then I think they went back to one a year or stuff. But it was by what I remember, it was consistent for about consistency for about a decade at least. And that's what I want from Spider-Man. Yeah, I mean, I just, you know what, like, look, I know people don't want the origin story and stuff, but I think with Tom Holland, I would like to see that as like a prequel kind of thing, just to give Sony a bone to be, hey, like let's get our like no Stark Spidey and maybe give him like a shit suit that looks like the Spider-Man suit, like as a homage. I don't know, and then fucking at the same time throw in those future stories where it's set in the now and whatnot. But I guess at the same time, we've seen him grow up, because each year that we've not got a Spider-Man film, he's been in an Avengers film. He's teamed up with someone. So I guess that kind of counts as well. But then for me, being my favorite character out of all comics, you know what I mean? Of all comics, I feel that, you know, I just want more Spider-Man. Do you know what I mean? I just want more Spider-Man. I mean, I know a lot of people don't feel the same way, but one of the advantages of the multiverse thing is, could Sam Raimi ask to finish his films? You know what I mean? If they announced that tomorrow, I would watch the shit out of that. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine if Disney and Sony struck a deal and say, you know what, let's split Spider-Man. We'll keep the Tom Holland version. We'll do the mixture and reintroduce all the other Spider-Man. You go off and do whatever you want with all the other Spider-Man characters, and just let us have the Holland version.
But that's the thing, dude. That's what I want.
Yeah, exactly.
That is what
they
I
can
want.
do more Andrew Garfield movies. They can do Tobey Maguire stuff. They've got the animated version of Spider-Verse. They're like, you've got your Venom, you've got your Carnage. Like, go do all what you want to do. Just leave us this Tom Holland Spider-Man and just let us please the fans.
You know what totally. That would be. Do you know what it is? That would make so much sense and so much money. But I feel like, and I was like, you know, no disrespect to them in saying this, but I feel like Sony are so short-sighted that you would imagine that Tom Holland's Spider-Man would make so much more money than the others that they wouldn't want to lose out on that one piece of money.
From a financial point of view, they'll never let him go.
Have, you know, Andrew Garfield money and Tobey Maguire money and, you know, Tom Hardy money and all the other possibility, because they wanted to do the freaking Black Cat and they wanted to do a Silver Sable and they wanted to like all the things that they could possibly do. They won't.
They want to do a Madam Web movie, you know? It's just like anyway.
No, that's the one.
Madam Web, Spider-Man 3.
What about the Aunt May movie?
Oh, mate,
that was a thing. That was a legit thing.
It was a
Aunt May movie.
Yes, and you know what makes it even wilder? The wilder thing is that if that was to happen, obviously we know it's not going to happen. But if that was to take place, right? That they were to split it and say, "All right, Marvel, you got Tom Holland, we'll keep the rest," right? Even if they were to say that, because there's been so much time and so many things have taken place since those films were made. You basically could start fresh. You could say everything that's happened has happened, but it's been, for Tobey Maguire, it's been what? Almost 15 years. For Andrew Garfield, it's been about 5 coming on 10 years.
I think with Tobey Maguire, he still looks the same, dude. That guy doesn't age.
Like he didn't age, man. Like
it's just a fitness thing for him, I think.
Yeah, I'm like, listen, I don't know what like Toby, I don't know what vampire you sleeping with, but you keep that up. Right?
Guys, I don't want to cut in, but I gotta run. I need to finish a call essentially.
No worries. I think we're pretty much wrapped up anyway, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna lust over Fantastic Four from now until
you go ahead, but I gotta run. And it was great to be part of this conversation. And I'll see you guys soon.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Yeah, but yeah, like you could start fresh. You could say, okay, look, here's Tobey Maguire, and he's now married to Mary Jane. They've got a kid. You could introduce,
Spider Boy.
They could have it. That he's got a daughter, May Parker. Who does she become? She's Spider Girl. Boom. That's one. You could say, oh, here's Andrew Garfield. Maybe he could have they wanted to do a Sinister Six. Hey, you can make your Sinister Six movie. Why? Because you established that these things are going to happen. You've now got a fresh slate. You can start and you can do what you want with it. There was so many, and all of that happening in two different universes, not tied to the MCU. So it's like you don't have to have these big long haul meetings with the MCU saying, oh, what's this? And maybe if they wanted to do another Spider-Verse or Madam Web or whatever, they can just be like, oh, can we borrow Tom Holland for 4 days of shooting? Yeah, of course, go ahead. It doesn't matter what happens. Why? Because he could be gone in MCU time where it's like 10 minutes.
Yeah. It's amazing what they could do. I mean, look, think about it this way. If Spider-Man 3 happens the way it happens, you've got Vulture, you've got Mysterio, you've got Shocker, you've got Electro, you've got Doc Ock. It's not too far from a Sinister Six, right? Scorpion, you got Scorpion as well. So that's your Sinister Six right there.
Yeah. Not to mention, Morbius.
Yeah.
Because we saw that Vulture.
You forget that movie's still coming, right? Morbius, and then you got Carnage. Venom, Maximum Carnage. Yeah. So yeah, crazy time to be a comic book fan in the movies, man. It's just crazy. I'd love to be able to sit in a room and hear Sony and Marvel talk through their deals. I'd love to hear their thought process.
You know what, Ken? You need to.
I'd want to jump on the people from Sony. Gonna be like, oh, what if we do this? And I'd just be like, can I throw a chair? Is it too wrong to throw a chair?
Yeah.
Well, Ken, you need to pimp your podcast to Tom Rothman at Sony. He's the current CEO.
All right, I'm coming for you, bro. Let's talk. Let's talk.
Oh God. All right, so I guess that's a wrap, and we finished early. I guess. Well, it's because we started early, I guess. So
yeah, a couple of hours. Yeah, a couple of hours.
So yeah, but yeah, 2 hours.
Well, think about it. They announced stuff over 4 hours. We've covered one part of it in 2. So there's a lot to talk about with.
This is why I said we need to do multiple ones, man. So yeah. And you know what? Before this broke, it was a dead news week. I was like, shit, man, what am I going to talk about? It's just like, and then it's just like, it's like wow. Yeah, stay tuned, guys, because we've got our next podcast will be the Star Wars one, where we talk about all things in the galaxy far, far away. Where can we find you, Neil?
You can find me at the Neil Coppin, all one word, on Instagram.
Oh wow, you changed it.
Yeah, I changed the name.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
I'm working on something. So
cool. I have to change my graphics.
So yeah, it's the Neil Coppin on Instagram. And
okay, cool.
You need to get on Twitter, bro, please.
I was on Twitter, but then I got.
I need more people to like my posts. I have Sacha, Joe, and Jessen. They're the only people who like my posts, man. Come on.
You will always have Jessen.
This is my number one fan. I swear down.
Yeah,
everyone.
He needs to get on Twitter more as well, bro.
You know what? Twitter's just not my thing, because you know what it is. It's because, and I'll say this on the podcast, it's like when you see negative stuff, and this is what it is. My arguments start as soon as I wake up, because I half read things and then I box myself into shit that I don't fully have the facts for, because I'm not fully awake. And Ken's caught me out on this shit multiple times when we've argued and shit. And he knows it. I'm not at my fullest. I'm not at my best. And you know what?
Not until he's had his bath and his breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. And my tea and like everything. When I'm fully awake, then I'm ready to fight. And it's not. And second of all, I just don't like the whole Twitter culture thing. And
no, I agree. Twitter culture is quite business, but for me, I get a lot of my news so much quicker through Twitter than any other platform. So
Yeah,
that's the main reason I use it, you know, and I try and put some of my stuff out there, and I you know, it all depends on who follows you and your tags and who sees it on the day, but I see most of my news first all through that. So I think it is a great platform, and to be honest, most outlets, most actors use that first. It's probably either that or Instagram, which are probably the first two places they post their own stuff, kind of thing. So, and to be honest, I follow for certain people like Hugh Jackman and like Ryan Reynolds on Twitter. They just give me jokes all the time and stuff like that. So but yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Kenan Talks Film. I posted, I don't know, like 30 posts last night. It was ridiculous. And yeah, check out the Creative Control podcast. It's available on all your podcasting platforms, Google, Apple, everywhere. So yeah, enjoy, let us know your thoughts on it, and yeah, a new episode drops every 2 weeks.
Cool. And you can find me on Sashman3 on Twitter. Whether I use it or not, that's another problem. That's another situation. But I check it from time to time. I do check it weekly, and there's stuff that I do pimp out on there, but I don't really read stuff like too much. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, this is Zedos Gang, and we're out.
Peace.
Go on, do it. Come on.
I am the man that killed Jamie Lannister.